Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another edition of The App. This is a KTBS podcast presentation. The app has nothing to do with computers. The app in this case stands for Arklatex People and Politics. We try to visit with everybody on the political spectrum in the Arklatex area. And we do have a couple of special guests today. Let me bring them in and introduce them. On the top of your screen is State Representative Larry Bagley, and underneath him is State Representative Dodie Horton. She represents District 9. Larry Bagley represents District 7. Welcome to you both, and thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. So there's been a lot of stuff going on, obviously. We are just a couple days removed from an election. There was a lot of stuff on that election, most notably 4 constitutional amendments, and the most important one, I guess, was Amendment 2. All 4 of those went down to resounding defeat, and I just wanted to start with getting reactions from both of you about what you thought about that. And let's start with Dodie. What did you think about it, Dodie?
Well, it was very disappointing. Never did I think that our citizens would vote against lowering their own income tax, and so much more. But I believe the lessons that we learned, it was too long. It was too many things in one instrument. And so we're going to come back with 2 or 3 constitutional amendments that are split, easier to understand, less confusing, and we're going to do a better job educating the public. So I serve, and I'm thankful for Bossier Parish that supported it, but we definitely will do a better job, and I look forward to it because I know that the people of this state want to move our state forward, and the only way to do that is to change certain things that were in Article 7. Get rid of 2 of the worst taxes on business that anywhere in the United States. I mean, it just deters business from coming. We were going to be able to keep our severance dollars to put towards infrastructure, pay off teacher retirement debt, like we were going to pay off their mortgage, freeing up I think 28% of Bossier Parish School Board's district's budget, and ensuring a permanent pay raise for them, and double the senior exemption, lower to a flat 3% income tax rate. So it's a lot of good in there, but unfortunately it was just too long and people couldn't get to it. And so I look forward to coming back again, and next time I believe we'll get her done. So
Larry, do you share some of the same thoughts as Dodie?
Oh, everything she said, I certainly agree with. I will say that Dodie and I were 2 representatives that it passed in our districts. She had in Bossier, it did pass. All the amendments passed in District 7, which includes part of Caddo. Mine passed 52%. That was Caddo, DeSoto, and half of Sabine. And all Sabine passed. So I was happy with that. The one thing that, besides the things that certainly Representative Horton mentioned, was a severance tax issue, which was a lot of money for the citizens and the infrastructure of the Northwest. We have not gotten the business that some of the other areas have gotten as far as new business coming in. Those severance tax dollars would they try to help the infrastructure in our parishes to get ready for these things that are coming. That cost Caddo, DeSoto, Sabine, Red River, Bossier, Webster, cost us a lot of money. And so I have already put into legislation, or trying to put in legislation, a bill that would let that come back. I ran that bill 2 years ago with a $10 million cap. This time I'm going to run it with a 0 cap, meaning that the 20% that they take out for taxes will get it all back if it's passed. And I passed it out of the House last time with no opposition. The Senate chairman, one of the Senate chairmen, had trouble with, and I've already contacted the people I need to contact, and I'm working on it right now. In fact, I started with Sunday to try to get that passed, because that's huge for my district and Shreveport, Bossier, all of Northwest Louisiana. It's imperative that passes.
Well, and the other tax, Dodie, you mentioned 2, bad for business, severance tax, we discussed here, but I assume the other one you're referring to is the inventory tax. Is that right?
Right, inventory tax and franchise tax. I don't believe any other state in the nation, at least that's what I was told, has those, and they deter business. And getting rid of those 2 taxes will help our small businesses that are the backbone of Louisiana. So it's crucial not only to our businesses that keep our government open, but for new businesses coming in. So again, we just need to do a better job of the way we present it and with the language that is in it, so people, can remember who we are that they trusted to elect into office, and who our governor is, and not get caught up in a lot of the minutia of it. So we're going to do a better job, and I believe that it'll fly off it'll pass when in the next election. That I don't know if it's going to be the fall or next spring, but we're definitely coming back because we must move our state forward. And the only way to do it is to make bold change, because doing the same old thing you see just doesn't work.
Well, I talked to one of your colleagues yesterday, and one of his theories about why all these amendments failed was that there is currently in our political climate, there's just an inherent mistrust by people of political figures. Do you believe that to be true, Larry? Let's start with you on that one.
Again, I point to the fact that in my district, it passed fairly easily. So maybe I don't have the mistrust in my area, South Caddo, DeSoto, and Sabine, that others have. I'm not going to say that that's not true in some areas. I would say that Representative Horton has the same answer that I do, that the people of Bossier believe that she is a leader and does what she's supposed to do to help. And that's what I have to rely on in my capacity, because I do represent those areas, and that's my elected job. And I think that maybe overall that may be. I thought maybe we didn't do as good a job as we could have going out in all the areas. I know I spent a lot of my own money to get people information about the amendments. I probably spoke 10 or 12 times to groups about what it was explaining the ins and outs of it, not only in my own district, but in others. So, and I think that's important that people go, especially people that are trusted, or tell folks this is what it is and this is how it works. And I've done that for 10 years, and they've by now realized I'm not going to tell them something's not true. And so I think I do have that trust of the people. But again, obviously, there were only 8 parishes that all 4 amendments passed, and our 8 districts, and mine and Dodie's were 2 of them. So there's only 6 more throughout the state that did that. So, whatever that means. But I did all I could do, and I know Dodie did all she could do.
Yeah, well, I wasn't speaking to you about you guys specifically, but just in general. I mean, the political climate seems to be, and this I think comes from D.C. on down. That right now, currently, there is a little bit of trepidation between voters and the people they actually elect to represent them. There just seems to be a little bit of that. Maybe I'm crazy, and that's not necessarily my theory, but it was a theory of one of your colleagues. I just wondered what you thought of it, Dodie.
Well, may I say that, like our governor pointed out, there were some leftist outside groups that came in and spent a lot of money on sowing the seed of distrust. I know that our state is proud of the changes that this administration and this legislature has made. We made some foundational changes with crime and in general, in the special sessions we've had. We're trying to change our state from the inside out. And the only way to catapult our state is through true tax reform and awarding the hardworking citizens of our state. And Mississippi passed tax reform. They have a 8-cent sales tax with a 10-year plan to do away with their state income tax. We have a 5-cent sales tax with a 3-year plan to eliminate the Louisiana state income tax altogether. I believe that we need to partner more with our school boards, because I think a lot of the school superintendents were shocked that people didn't get out to vote and didn't pass this because the retirement system supported it, but I didn't hear as much from them as I'd hoped to, because when you pay off $2 billion worth of retirement debt, freeing up a large portion of the school board's budget. Yeah. I mean, that's a no-brainer. Giving the teachers a permanent pay raise and support personnel a permanent pay raise, that is something that you would never think would be rejected. But we just people just did not go vote, and I believe though that I have to say that, not to put all the blame, because if we'd have done our job, maybe that outside money wouldn't have had the success that they had. So I think it's just a combination, and we're just going to do better.
Yeah, well, you went right where I was going to go, and that is, it was a little surprising that the teachers basically voted against their own pay raise. That didn't quite make sense. Larry, what do you think about that?
I spoke to several teachers groups during the course of time. I'm a retired teacher. I spoke to 2 retired teachers groups plus some retired teachers or other teachers, and they did have questions and they wondered, and I answered all those questions. And of course, my big answer was that I'm a retired teacher. I have 2 brothers that teach. I have a sister-in-law, others that are teachers. Why would I pass laws that would hurt my own people, or that my friends that I taught with at Logansport or in Northwood High School or anywhere else I taught? And I never had any that they'd ask questions, but once they did hear that, they realized that what good would it do me personally if I was going to hurt myself? And I think that I couldn't go everywhere, and not everybody's a retired teacher.
Right.
But I think where I spoke and the people I talked to, they had a little better understanding. It was, and look, I had a couple of good friends that voted against it, and they told me the reason they voted against 2 was because it was too big, and they just didn't want to read it, so they voted no. I don't have an answer for that.
It goes back to that old, what's that old phrase? I'm all for big change. I just don't want anything to be different, right? I mean, that's kind of crazy.
Anytime you deal with a word, that TAX word, you always run the risk of automatic off. And maybe that was true in some cases too. Fear of change. I know I had some ministers talk to me about the deductions, tax deductions for church, contributions. I assured them that no one in the body of the 105 would ever be for that, and the senators, no one would ever be for that. I'm not even sure how that got out, but there are a lot of mistruths. Dodie mentioned a minute ago about the people that came out of the woodwork opposed to it. I'm not sure where. Again, I don't know where that came from. It was pretty easy to rebuke any of that once I heard it. I think the big thing was there weren't probably enough people out rebuking those to answer those questions that people had. And I answered questions Saturday morning. I had calls Saturday morning about that to be sure they were doing the right thing. So, I spent a lot of time with this. I was disappointed. I was shocked. I really never thought it would be in this way. As I know, Representative Horton was the same way. We were all shocked. But shocked is one way to rejuvenate and turn around and say, okay, this is what we need to do. Yeah. Again, I've already filed a severance tax bill, which is part of 2, and try to get that back. We need that money in Northwest Louisiana for infrastructure help. We have not had all the change that some of the other areas have had for, having big business. We need to be ready for that because it's coming. And so I'm spending my time trying to get everything ready. Basically where Shreveport-Bossier goes, so does the rest of my district. So I'm very excited about all of it. I'm working really hard to get all these things done. And that's kind of the way I've been ever since I've been elected.
Well, let's move on a little bit and look forward instead of looking to the past. And both of y'all said on the Appropriations Committee, the House Appropriations Committee. But how did the failure of Amendment 2, does that shape how you approach your work moving forward and the things you have to do, Dodie?
Well, the governor's budget that he presented is based on what is, not what might have been.
Okay.
So we're operating on what we have now, and still working on the changes for the future. So we're both of us are in Baton Rouge today. We meet 3 weeks in a row before session starts to hear from all the committees heads and then department heads, and then we'll take public testimony, after session begins. So we're hard at it, and the governor has tasked every department to look for deficiencies. We have our own Doge people working here, so we definitely want to be more effective, efficient, and to control the government spending, which was a big part of that amendment. So, we're ready to get to work.
What's the reaction been to, you mentioned the localized or the Louisiana version of Doge. We know what the reaction has been around the country to the big one and Elon Musk. I'm certain there hasn't been any reaction like that in the state of Louisiana, has there?
we haven't really had a report from them yet. Have you, Representative Bagley? I haven't.
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay, so we're still waiting. I mean,
Yes.
okay.
And remember, I must say, the majority of Americans support the Donald Trump and its administration and Doge. I know everyone in their sitting at the coffee table, and I hear from constituents all over. I always have, really my whole life talked about the waste that a government has, how big it is, and why do we give illegals so much money when we can't take care of our homelessness here? So what they're doing, the vast majority of Americans support. So I turn a deaf ear to the negative because the positives just are so great.
So how about you, Larry? You do the same? You kind of tune
Well,
out the negative?
I know as a member of appropriations, we knew a month ago we had a standstill budget. It was written out, handed to us, so we have it. We had a budget in case Saturday turned out like it did.
Okay.
So even though I was disappointed, we know how this is going to go. We were well ready for anything that happened. And the thing is that we do have a standstill budget. Everything is paid for. We'll be able to pay all the people that we owe money for. There's no emergency. We would have just been a little better shape. But you look at it, our tax structure is still going to be 4.5% up. We lost the 3.5%, so which means we're going to bring more tax money in than we thought we were anyway. There won't be the $25,000 deduction for citizens 65 and older.
Right.
So that's more money the state will have. If we don't give the teachers a pay raise, that's $200 million that we want. So we're money-wise, we're not hurting at all. We will certainly have to make some cuts, but nothing like was forecast when we first brought these amendments to. And the governor's done a great job handling all this and being sure that we stayed within the limits of our money that we had. That's why we're having appropriations meetings now. We're having all the committees, the commissioners, secretaries come up and tell us what they're doing and what they need, and fully aware that they will not, what they know exactly how much money they're going to get and what they use it for. So, it's not gloom and doom. We're just disappointed that we wanted something. It's kind of like Christmas. You don't get the present you want. And that happened. We're not.
I'm well aware of that. Yeah. Now, and Dodie, as a member of appropriate, I mean, you guys you're important. I mean, you guys know. You guys say where the money's going to get spent. So, what kind of things are you hearing from the folks that are coming to testify before your committee?
Well, I really have been encouraged by their presentations. You see, they show us the cuts they made, and some may ask for more to be more efficient. I don't know, but I really am encouraged. I don't hear a lot of negative coming from the department heads. I don't know. I like to see Representative Bagley's take on that, because I personally haven't gotten a bad vibe from him at all.
How about you, Larry? Did they kind of approach their budgeting like you did, both ways? We had to figure out, if 2 passed or it didn't pass, this is what we had to do. Is that the vibe you got?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to butt in.
No, that's
but
okay.
Like I said, when this first 2 weeks, everybody has come in understanding how much money they have. Okay. There's not a maybe there's going to be more. They know exactly how much money, and they have a budget for that, because they were all budgeted, like I said, a month ago, that we knew we gave them. They had the money they were going to get. Now, passing 2 would have meant we had another budget if 2 passed. So they had another pile of money that possibly would come into play. So the people we're talking to today and yesterday and next week understand where this is and what they have to do. Nobody's complaining. We're disappointed, but we're not complaining. We do understand our job, and we'll go about that job in the way that the citizens want us to, that elect us to be there. We could all use more money. We could all use something else, but our job is to try to keep government as small as we can and save the citizens money. And that's what I know Representative Horton and I both take a strong stand on all that. And in appropriations, we certainly have a say in all that.
Yeah. Well, the next session starts, I believe, April 14th. So you guys will have to be ready to go. That's in less than 2 weeks, I think. Is today April 1st? Yeah, it is. How time flies. So it's a fiscal session, Explain how a fiscal session is different from just a normal session, Dodie.
Well, with the fiscal session, we only get to bring 5 non-fiscal bills. So it's a fiscal session when you really deal with the inner workings of the government and how each department runs and try to make it more efficient. It's all about the fiscal nature of our state, whether it's taxes or taxes, and spending. It's just our focus is on that. But I can tell you one of our greatest focuses this session will be finding a way to lower our automobile insurance rates. Representative Bagley has worked on that tirelessly as well, and we have to come up with a way to, with the governor's support, to do our work and to give our people relief. We're at a crisis point. People can't hardly afford to have 2 vehicles now, more or less buy their child a car because the insurance rates are just astronomical. Our commercial auto rate, we're losing big trucking companies all the time. They're going just right across to Arkansas, Mississippi, and Texas, where they can save over half on their insurance costs. So we have got to do our job and bring these rates down. And whether it's going to be a combination with tort reform, with transparency and billing, with working with the insurance companies with their policies. It's going to be an all-encompassing thing, and we've got to do it. That's what I hear from all of our people. We all pay these high rates, and we're sick of it. And so we got to do our job and pass meaningful reform. Not something that looks good, but it has to be meaningful. That's really going to impact our lives in a positive way.
And
so
Larry,
that's our focus.
Yeah, absolutely. And Larry, it has to be something that happens kind of quickly, right? It can't be something that, well, let's pass this in 2 or 3 years. There might be some relief. Doesn't it have to be something that really works kind of fast?
Well, I agree with that, except as you know, Jeff, I was an insurance agent at an Allstate agency. And I can tell you that nothing in the insurance business is going to happen fast. We passed legislation 4 years ago, I believe, lowering the ceiling on jury trials from $10,000, which was the highest in the United States, down to $2,000, which is still the highest in the United States. But that would mean that we could have more jury trials to get some of these damages down to a better point. The court still haven't cleared the $10,000 cases back from 4 years ago. They're still working on it. It's never hit. So we've never got any savings from that, even though we all touted it would save. It hadn't yet because we haven't gotten to the courts. And by the time they get to the courts, insurance certainly has risen, and you're not really going to see it that much. So that's the problem with all this is, and I went to a convention last year where they talked about the world insurance market, which drives Lloyd's of London, which drives us. It was 2 catastrophic years of earthquake, hail damage. They had fires, they had tornadoes and monsoons. It was the 2 worst years in recorded history, according to them. And that was the world insurance went up everywhere. And of course, in Louisiana, it went up even higher because we had 3 hurricanes that year, 2 of them in the same spot right behind each other. So those things are things that, that we can't control. I know Secretary Temple worked hard. He met with us yesterday, talked about, I think there are 25 bills that are going to come to us. I am on the insurance committee, and will help pass those things that he's trying to do. And hopefully we can come up. But again, for people to think there'll be something instant or in the next several months, that's probably not going to happen. The deal is to try, because this didn't happen overnight. It's happened over a long period of time, and it's going to take a long time to get this straightened back out. Now, maybe someone will have an idea that I hadn't thought about that will change that. I'd be anxious to hear it. Certainly we'll vote for it and tout it as much as possible. But right now, I just can't see that we're going to have anything like that, which, I pay insurance too. I'm not happy about mine.
Sure.
My family's. And, the big thing for me is, and I represent a poor area, is I have working poor that have trouble paying their insurance. They have to decide whether they're going to, feed their family, pay their insurance, some terrible decisions that families have to make. I feel for them because they're having to decide whether they're going to break the law or feed their families.
Yeah.
And so that's hard to it's hard to find fault there anywhere, but certainly there is. But we'll continue the fight and try to change that part of it. There are other things. And I'm going to bring a bill that you and I've talked about before about the stickers, inspection stickers.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to save you any money. They're just going to move the $10 somewhere else, but $10 a year where you will not have to go get a sticker at the shop. And I have talked to the state police and OMB and the governor's office, and everybody's on board with this. We just, barring something crazy happens, I should be able to get that through, and we will not have to go back and get stickers anymore. We are the only red state that does that. Everybody else has done away with them, and it's strictly a tax that we shouldn't be paying, and we're just going to move it somewhere else. I've already mentioned the severance tax bill that I'm going to bring to try to bring back to try to bring that severance tax at 20% back to each parish. I think Caddo is going to be somewhere around $15 to $20 million that they get, and that'd be on a yearly basis. It would go to fix things in the parish. Others would get more, some get less. That's going to be another one. Also, the EMS bill, which both Bossier and DeSoto and others don't get that hazardous pay money. I'm going to try to get them in that because they have to go in those buildings where by themselves, and they need that money. So there's several things that I'm looking at. I'm going to work hard. I already am, to get those things passed for the good of the citizens of my district, and hopefully, and I know Representative Horton, she and I talk a lot about that, about what we're going to do, and she like I am are concerned about the citizens to be sure they're taken care of.
Well, Dodie, talk a little. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. May I say, Commissioner Temple is very, very cautions us. He says, don't go home and tell your constituents that the insurance rates are going to go down overnight. He said, you've got to change the climate and enable us to set the policies in motion that will. He said it may take a year, may take a year and a half, but without passing the legislation, we'll never get it done. So I wish it was like it would be an instantaneous thing, and I had hoped it would be just like all of my friends and family do. But he warns us that it won't be. But if until we get the laws changed, we have no hope. So that's why it's imperative we get it done this session, I feel.
Let's talk for just a minute about we mentioned it's a fiscal session. You can bring 5 non-fiscal bills. Talk about, Dodie, whatever some of the bills you might be bringing this session, whatever they might be.
Well, I'm still working on them. They're a work in progress.
Okay.
One that I was asked to carry for the governor's office is a bill I believe the federal government is asking all the states to carry to protect our genetic data from foreign adversaries getting a hold of them. Like, you send your DNA into 23andMe.
Yeah.
Now I think a foreign company has bought that. So we want to be able to protect our data. So I'm carrying a bill like that. One to protect the right of citizens to fly the American flag. I had a lot of people complain when they found out that different places they live in, they were not allowed to fly a flag even on federal holidays. And so, I think it's important for people to have the freedom to fly the flag. And it would only be for new contracts going forward, So, and, I have several other bills that I'm working on, not really discussed yet, but it's, I'm looking forward to just, being here and representing my district and getting our job done, do it well.
Well, and you're still waiting to get the resolution of your 10 Commandments bill, I guess, right?
Yeah. Well, they are posted in some schools, and I'm waiting for it to go to the Supreme Court. I don't think it's going to be that long. We're just so grateful to have Liz Murrell to take it and defend it. I know that it's going to pass the Supreme Court scrutiny, and so other school districts who fear reprisal, won't have to fear it anymore. So I'm ready to get it done, and I'm just so encouraged that so many states around the United States, all the way up to Delaware, have reached out. And I can't remember the amount of states, but it's a tremendous amount that are taking our legislation and that are presenting it in their states. I never thought it would be that catch on fire like that, but everybody's hungry to have God's law in front of their children. He has a moral standard, and that we should live our lives by. And so they're just hungry for positive messages. And since we're having administrations now that's getting rid of all the woke ideologies, we want to replace it to what our country was founded on, and that is God, country, family. So it's exciting. I can't wait for the resolution to all be done. I'm ready.
Yeah. Okay. Down to our final minute here. Let's look ahead to the session, and from each of you, just kind of give us a 30-second wrap up of how you think this session might go. Let's start with Larry on that.
All right. I think it's going to, like always, it'll be exciting. It'll be fun. It'll be a lot of work. I've already started preparing for mine and getting the people that help me ready to do that. I'm going to think that we're going to have make some great strides across the state. I think we're going to have some more announcements about businesses that are locating to Louisiana and have decided that Louisiana is worth investing in and bringing our people back. I tell the people all the time, they talk about outgoing migration of people to Louisiana. Most of those, I explained to them, most of those are coming from Shreveport-Bossier in my area, my district, because there is not a business there or businesses to keep people working in those areas. And that I look forward to seeing those changes. And one of the reasons for the severance tax is to try to get the infrastructure ready, roads, bridges, especially sewer and water, so we can have those ready. So I look forward to all those things happening, and I'll push those things for my district. It'll also be it's always fun to work with the others. Certainly, Representative Horton and I have been working together already for 9 years, and it'll be another 3, and look forward to that. But it'll be interesting. We'll look forward to seeing you, because I know you'll be there a time or two.
I'll be
and
there.
That's always a good thing too.
I appreciate that. Dodie, how about just a little synopsis of how you think this session might go?
I'm very optimistic about it. I'm blessed to serve under Jeff Landry and his administration, and with great colleagues, supermajority in both houses. The sky should be the limit for us. We just got to come together, keep our eyes on the people that elected us. I always put my constituents first, and what's good for District 9, we know is what's best for the state. So I'm just ready to get to work and make them proud.
All right, State Representatives Dodie Horton and Larry Bagley, thank you both very much for being with us on this edition of the app. We appreciate it. Good luck.
Thank you.
You bet. Good luck.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Larry.
Hey,
thanks,
look forward
Dodie.
to seeing you, Jeff. You're the best.
Oh, I appreciate that. I never get compliments like that, so thanks. Thanks for watching this episode of the app. Arklatex People and Politics, and have a good one, everybody.